Ahoy! Today, I'm going to teach you how to use Unreal Engine and the plugin Twiworks to integrate redeems, so your Twitch chat can use channel points to control things in your environment during your streams. This was originally part of a larger tutorial that I made on how to make a virtual pet system, but since this information isn't widely available, I figured it'd be good to have a short video on just this particular part for more general use. Since I want this to be comprehensive, I'm going to show you how to connect Twiworks to Twitch first, but if you've already done that part, you can skip to this timestamp here to get straight to the redeem stuff. Before we get into Unreal Engine, you're going to need to set up a Twitch dev account with your browser. So go to this URL and click on the Your Console button at the upper right. Click on Register Your Application, give it a name, paste this text into auth redirect URLs, choose any category, doesn't really matter, affirm your humanity, and click Create. Now that you have the application, find the Manage button next to it and copy the text that's in the Client ID box. You're going to need that for later, and this is going to be different for you than what's on my screen. For Unreal Engine to communicate with Twitch, you're going to need the plugin Twiworks. You can get it off the Unreal Marketplace for about 25 bucks. Twitch also has its own official API here that you might want to check out, but I've had problems with it responding correctly to redeems, so we're going to stick with Twiworks for this tutorial. The plugins use different functions for connecting to Twitch, but the rest of what we're doing will be about the same with either, so explore Twitch's version if you'd like to try saving money, or check out what features it has if you can get that working. But for now, open up your project in Unreal Engine, go to your plugins, and search for Twiworks, and make sure that's checked. Then go to your project settings, find Twitchworks on the left-hand side here. It's going to be called Twitchworks here because the branding is inconsistent, but it's the same plugin. Then you're going to go to Client ID, and inside of this box, you're going to copy and paste the Client ID that you got in your browser on the Twitch dev site. And again, it's going to be different for you than it is for me. And then you want to go to local login port and make sure that 8080 is in the text field. It should be that already, but just double check here. Alright, now we can finally get to some blueprinting. First, we're going to make our Twiworks manager. It's going to connect us to Twitch and keep track of interactions. So add a new blueprint class. You can just make it an actor. We'll call it something like BP_Twiworks manager. So drag that onto your map, and then open up the class, go to its event graph, and create a custom event called Connect to Twitch. Right-click on your graph and search for the event we just made to call it. Plug that blue node into the event begin play. Next, we'll define what that event does. So make a branch node and create a new boolean called Connect to Twitch. Make it true by default and plug it into the branch. Go to the variable in the tab on the left and click the eyeball to make it public, so you'll be able to turn Twiworks off on your map editor when you don't need it. So go back to the event graph and search for a perform local Twitch login node. It's going to have a pin called credentials. Promote that to a variable and set it to execute from onSuccess. Make sure you use onSuccess and not the blank one above it. It's an easy thing to overlook. Drag off of the credentials node and search for break Twitch login credentials. This will create a node that gives you access to info that we're going to need. And search for a connect to Twitch node, the one that comes with Twiworks, not the one we just made, and have that execute after the credentials are set. Get the username pin from the break node and plug that into the channel pin. Also plug the credentials variable into the matching spot here. Next, promote the Twitch chat pin to a variable. You're going to need to access this pretty often. And just like before, make sure it executes off of the onSuccessful login pin, not the blank one at the top. And that's all you need to log into Twitch. Next, we're going to define what happens when a message shows up in chat. The Connect to Twitch node has an onMessage pin on the left. Drag off that and create a custom event for it. Do the same for the onCheer pin. Even if we're not going to use it, Unreal will complain if the onCheer isn't defined. It doesn't need to actually do anything, just make sure it's there. Next, create a custom event called Respond to Twitch Message. Create a new input and search for Twitch Message as the type. You can name it the same thing. Set that aside somewhere and right-click on your event graph. Search for the event we just made and call it. And plug it into the onMessage event, and connect the Twitch message pins together. This is a little editor's note. If you ever get a compile error when you call a custom event you just made that has inputs, make sure that you save and compile after adding those inputs. That way the pins will show up correctly when you call it with this blue node here. Next, we're going to set up redeems. The reason we want to have a respond to Twitch message function is because if a user caches in a redeem, we want to call this first since Twiworks won't consider the redeem itself to be a message. This will be useful if there's going to be something in your scene that relies on the user being there that the redeem is going to affect. For instance, in my project, typing in chat summons a virtual pet for the user, and a lot of the redeems are used for modifying that pet. I don't want the redeems to fire off before the pet is in the scene, so I put the summoning event in my respond to Twitch message function and call that first. Search for a bind to onPoints event node, have that execute after setting the Twitch chat variable, and plug that variable into the chat pin. Drag off of the red event pin and create a new custom event, and call it something like onPoints. Create a new custom event that will fire off of here and name it redeems. Add an input to that event and set it to the type Twitch points event. Set that aside and make a call to it and plug that into the onPoints event. Now your redeem function is going to have some space, so drag off the points event pin and search for a break node. Then you'll have access to some of the information about the redeem, which we're going to need. Promote the reward ID to a variable, which is going to be a string. This is how Unreal is going to know which redeem is being triggered. Drag off of the message pin and break it. Drag off of the author pin and make a variable called redeem author. This will be the person that does the redeem. Finally, promote the message body pin to a variable and call it something like reward user parameter. This is going to be the text that the user enters when they cache in the redeem, and we're going to use it to let people customize options for their pet. Next, make a call to your respond to Twitch message function and plug the message pin from the break Twitch points event node into it. Now search for a switch on string node and hook that up to here. Get your reward ID variable and plug it into the selection pin. Add a pin to the switch on string node. Each of these pins is going to execute a different redeem, and the reward ID here is what's going to come in from Twitch to identify which one it triggers. We're going to need to get that ID from Twitch later, but for now, make whatever function you want to fire off when the redeem happens. In my example, I want to change the body color of the user's pet. Add two inputs to it, a Twitch message author type and a string. Name these redeem author and redeem user params. Set that aside, make a call to it, and plug your redeem author and user param variables into it. Don't hook it up to the switch on string yet. We're going to need to get the reward ID it's going to use first, and then name the pin in the switch node, and that'll disconnect it, so you don't need to do that right now. Now create a reward in your Twitch creator dashboard. I'm going to assume you know how to do that already. And make sure that it has text input enabled. So there's a couple of ways you can get this reward ID from Twitch. I put a URL in the description that can get it for you. Just replace the last part of the address with your channel name and keep it open. Then fire off your redeem in your Twitch chat and it'll spit out the reward ID so you can copy it. You can also create a print node in your blueprint and plug your reward ID variable into that, and then if you hit play on your level, it should spit it out in your log and you can copy it from there. So in either case, once you have that ID, go to your switch on string node and replace the pin with that string. Then hook it up to your redeem function. Now it'll fire off any time that redeem is triggered, along with the user and the text that they typed. So with all that, your chat can now trigger stuff in your environment with channel points. That switch node will fire off any function plugged into the pin matching the reward ID you got from Twitch, and you can make it do whatever you want. To add more redeems, add a pin in that switch node, cash in the redeem on Twitch to get the reward ID, and change the pin to match. If you want to see a larger project incorporating redeems, I have a much longer tutorial on how to make an avatar system for users in chat, so check that out if you're interested. So I hope this helps make your stream a bit more interactive and even cooler than it already is. Bye!